All right, welcome everyone. I'm very glad that you've decided to dedicate the next 30 minutes to learn from Rob Smith about Gmail productivity tips. And Rob and I were just chatting before we started the webinar, and he made a great point, and that is that just because you use something every day doesn't mean you actually have mastered it. And so it means you've got your basic functionality and maybe you know a few bells and whistles, but Rob is going to teach you some of the things that you didn't know, all with a goal to make you more productive. This is being recorded and it will be sent out to you afterwards. So really, I just encourage you to relax, take a few notes, and ask questions as we go. All right, Rob, we're running a tight ship today, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's just jump right into it because 30 minutes is I've got a lot of information. Well, let's just keep going. The one thing today that I kind of want to talk about is this idea of 5S. I'm going to be talking about it in upcoming ones, but essentially it's getting your workspace in order so you can be most efficient as possible. Okay, but that's really one of the reasons why we're talking about this today. Another thing about really focusing on Gmail and working on the tools that you use each and every day, because if you can get a tool or a tip that you basically use multiple times throughout the day, it's going to magnify for not only you and your staff. So it's not something you use once a month, it's something you're using every day. So we're going to hopefully give you some of those tips that you can use each and every day. And here's something that I really want you to focus on: the value added advisor. Okay, I'm in an area that basically kind of has low corporate taxes, okay, for pricing for accounting firms. I was about triple the price. The reason, and I had clients coming up to me constantly saying, Rob, my buddy down the street is paying a third or half of what you're charging me. And I looked him straight in the face and said, every time I talk to you, I teach you something, don't I? And they're like, yeah, you do. I said, do you think these other people get that? No, they don't. So these little teeny tips, Gmail, whatever software they're using, every time that you talk to your client, have one of these things in the back of your mind and teach it, whether it's written up on the wall for you to remember. But every time that you touch a client, give them a tech tip. And if you do that, you're making their day-to-day headaches disappear. And that's what's going to make a great client relationship, okay? And the more basic the tool, the more you can spread it around. So you learn a tool, learn a tip, you can send it out 100 times because everybody's using Google or Microsoft or whatever, okay? And then once again, like Allison said before, just because you're using something doesn't make you an expert. And the only way somebody's going to pay you for your advice is if you're an expert. So if you're just a general user, your advice isn't going to be that beneficial. But if you become an expert in something, then your advice is what people are going to come for and pay for. So that's what I want to get to. One of the other things that I want you to do is we are going to have a handout basically for this course where all of the different notes, you're going to be able to come into a Google Doc. And let me actually just, let me see if I can share this. Okay, right here, I'm going to share this link in the chat real quick. I'm going to put in the chat. You can hopefully then get into it. Hopefully this will work. There is the link right there.
And if anyone is watching this on recording, because of course we're recording this, if they're watching this after the fact, we will have the link to the handout with the recording.
Yeah. But basically with this, whether you can access it now or definitely access it afterwards, I've got everything I'm talking about with notes, with the section for you to go back, delete the stuff you don't care about, and add to the notes there. So I've kind of taken notes for you. I've given you the cheat sheet. And I've also given you different legends that you can take and make your own. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started and actually learn something. The first thing that I want you to basically do, if you haven't already done, is turn Gmail into an app. You can do this with any website. It'll appear on the taskbar and it's not going to be buried in your browser. Going to go through this kind of quickly because I've talked about this before, but basically what you do is you go to the three dots, go to more tools, create shortcut, click open as window, and then click create. And you can turn Gmail into its own app so it's not buried in a browser. You can just click on it and access it just like any program. You can see it down in your taskbar and you can pin it to your taskbar. So make sure that you're turning Gmail into an app. Okay. Second of all, we're going to go through some of the different settings, okay? And I realize settings aren't real exciting, but that's where all the bells and whistles really are hidden. So to access the basic settings, click on the gear, and then down here, you're going to see some of the basic settings. First one I want to talk about is apps in Gmail right here. If you're not using Chat and Meet, go in there, click Customize, and turn those off. That's the whole idea of 5S. Get rid of stuff that you're not using. If it is not using, get rid of the options, get rid of the button. So if you're not using Chat and Meet, get rid of it. Also down here, by default, it's kind of, there's a lot of space. I like to see as much stuff on the screen as possible. So I changed mine to compact. That's going to sit there and tighten everything up and probably allow you to see 20 to 30% more emails in the same space, because I try to get as much information on my screen as possible. That's one way to do it. Then you've got a theme, pick whatever theme you want. That's a complete preference. Now in here, now there's some things you can do with the inbox, okay? And this is, you can get pretty crazy with this one. By default, you're gonna sit there and see primary, promotions, social, updates, and forums, okay? That's the default view, but there's so much more you can do. You go down to priority inbox, you can organize them by different topics. So for example, here, important and unread, the unread stuff, and then everything else. So you're kind of putting the stuff that's important to you to the top. Okay, now it's going to mix kind of everything together, but it's one other way to kind of view something. Now you can go in there, and if you click customize, you're going to be able to come in here and change which sections you want to see here. Okay, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, and then everything else. And then you can also come in here and decide, pretty much pick a bunch of different options, whether it's important and unread, starred, or any of the labels that you set up, which we're going to talk about in the coming thing. You also want to decide how many items you want to see, and then make sure you always click hide the section when empty. There's no reason to see the section if it's empty. Something comes in there, it'll pop up. So always, by default, that's not there. So go in there and check hide section when empty. And then if you really want to get organized, or if you really want to see a lot in one view, you can come in here, have your inbox on the left, and then on the right-hand side, see up to maybe 4 or 5 different multiple inboxes. So here's my normal inbox. Then I've got a section for is unread and in inbox, yellow bang, yellow star, and green star. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this pretty soon, but there's more than just a star in here. You can actually have, instead of just a yellow star, you can have up to like 10 different ways to star an email and have them all sitting right here. So talk about really being able to come in here and keep track of your emails on what you need to do and stuff like this. Okay, this is a great way to organize your emails, prioritize them, and keep track of them, just all in the same view of the inbox. Okay, and this is where you can come in here. When you go into the section right here and hit customize, you'll see this. And then you're just using the simple filter terms, is unread and in inbox. So this is basically going to show that it's unread and still sitting in the inbox. Here it has a yellow bang, which is one of the stars, has a yellow star, has a green star. Okay, how many conversations do you want to see? Just put it to the right of the toolbox. That's a pretty impressive inbox when you're basically sitting there and you're really being able to organize your emails that way. Okay, also the reading pane. Okay, some people like this, some people don't, but I like to be able to go in there, click on the reading or click on an email and see it without having to open it. Okay, so if you want a reading pane, you can do that right down here. No split is default, but you can do it to the right of the inbox or below the inbox. Okay, and then just one quick thing about conversation threads, because it took me a while to kind of figure this out. You probably know this, but I'm going to throw this out there anyway. The oldest is always on top, the newest is at the bottom. If there's a lot of emails that may be collapsed, you can click this and unexpand it again. Right up here will collapse all the emails or expand all the emails. So if you click expand, it's going to expand every single email automatically so you can see them all at once. But then if you don't want to see them all, you can collapse them and just kind of toggle this back and forth. But the bottom one, the last email, will always be expanded. Okay. And then lastly, sometimes you have these 3 little dots. What it's done, it's gone in there and trimmed some content that it thinks it's duplicate or not really relevant, whether it's a signature or a reply. Sometimes you see these 3 dots, it's kind of taken stuff and kind of gotten rid of the stuff that you don't necessarily need. Okay. Now let's continue on with more of the settings. You click the dot right here, click see all settings. And here are some of the settings. Now there's a lot of settings on the general tab. I'm going to go through just the ones that I think you should really focus on. The maximum size page. I like either 50 or 100. That way you get a lot of emails in one view. You don't have to keep clicking next. I think they have the smaller ones if you had data plans or, when we had dial-up email and it took longer for it to do it. But why not just, put 50 or 100 all on one page at once. Undo send. This can save you a huge amount of thing. If you go up there and put 30 seconds, sometimes when you hit send, you're like, oh, I should have sent that. Well, guess what? You have a 30-second redo where you can basically go back in time and unsend it. Okay, because if you change this to 30 seconds, it's just going to take it, by the time you hit send, it's just going to wait 30 seconds for it to send. So you don't really need an email right away. But that 30 seconds kind of rewind, that could save you some embarrassing emails sometimes. So make sure you change that in the undo send. Default reply behavior, whether you want to set up to reply or all. I think that's preference, but consider that as an option. And then also set an archive. If you click and actually set up set an archive, then what will happen is you'll have send, where you can send an email. But if you click send an archive, then what's going to do, it's going to take it out of the inbox and then kind of hide it, because it's like, dude, I'm kind of done with this conversation. I just want to archive it. So send an archive. It's just going to sit right next to it, but it gives you an option to kind of keep your inbox a little bit cleaner without having to create an additional step. Also, the preview pane. If you are using the preview pane, make sure that when you're viewing something, that I set it to never, because when I had these right here, I would kind of click on something and then look, kind of look at something else, and all of a sudden it would disappear. And if you're using unread versus read and not just the general inbox, all of a sudden it kept moving out of my unread down to my read, and I was kind of losing stuff. So be real careful if you're using a reading pane and you're filtering on an unread, mark it to never, because that can, you can just click on something, all of a sudden it thinks you've read it, and then it takes it out of your way. Okay. Also, desktop notifications. You basically, do you want to turn on desktop notifications for anything, or pretty much any new email, important emails, or completely turn them off, and you can set a sound. What important means is that Gmail will actually come in here and see this little yellow flag right here. It will try to guess what it thinks it's important. And if you go through there, and if you don't train it, it's going to be kind of garbage. But if you go in there and train it by clicking and unclicking things that are important or not important, Gmail will actually learn and hopefully get a little bit better, and actually this will then become more valuable. But if you're not going in there and training it, you might as well turn it off, because all it's going to do is give you just false information. And the more stuff that's sitting out there that you're not using is not good. So
yeah, Rob, the conventional advice to people is to not have the notifications on.
Yeah.
Because it's too, you're going to be bombarded
especially
turn
for new.
it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for new. If you have trained this, then maybe important, but if not yet, I would go with off.
But Lisa has a question that's just, I think, a really quick one. She says, I'm using Gmail and Google Workspace, and this doesn't seem to track the same. Is that right? I'm not finding things where Rob is saying they are. So we're using Gmail.
Yeah, no, we're using Google Workspace. Yeah, so it's basically, if you go to, and I can't really, it's tough to bring up my Gmail because I've got a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, no, that's
click the gear. Yeah, if you click the gear and then click see all settings. So if you go to click gear, see all settings, that should work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa says, got it. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa, for confirming. That's great. So the gear, click all set, click see, sorry, go to the gear, see all settings.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was right there. Yep. Okay. So, okay. Then basically the keyboard shortcuts are awesome. Here's some of the ones that I basically use. This is also in the handout. Go in there, look at these, and then add to them. Add a picture, make sure you add your picture, add a signature, which we kind of know about. And then the personal level indicators, I do not find this to be very accurate, so I would turn this off. That is this little flag here. It does not appear to work very well, so go ahead and turn that off. And then you've also got your vacation responder back here. So these are some things that I think you should really focus on and take a look at inside the settings and set up for yourself. Okay, now let's talk about labels real quick. So there are 3 types of labels inside of Gmail. First of all, there's the system labels, where whether it's starred, snooze, set, etc. Okay, then there's categories, which are primary, social, whatever. And then lastly, there's labels that you create, user-specific labels. So there's really 3 types of labels, which are right there. Okay, now to access the label settings, you're going to go to Settings Gear. Instead of the General tab, you'll click on the Label tab. Okay, so go to the Gear, see all settings, and then just instead of the General tab, click on the Label tab, and that'll get you there. Okay, but what are, let's kind of see what happens with these labels. So when we talk about the system labels, okay, really the only thing you can basically show here is, first of all, if you're not using stars, snoozes, or important, if you're not using any of these, hide them. There's no reason to show these. Just get rid of them and basically hide it. So if you're not using these, hide them. If you're using them, show them. Also, with preference, sent, all mail, and trash. To me, I want to, whether you want to see these, either show it or hide it. That complete is preference on basically what you guys, do there. And then also, I would mark these 3 right here. Show if unread. So scheduled drafts and spam, I don't want to see these if there's nothing in it. So click show if unread. If there's unread items in there, then it'll show. If not, it'll disappear. So what we're trying to do is keep your Gmail as clean as possible so you can only focus on and see the stuff that matters to you.
And
that's
that's
what we're
unread by the recipient, right? Not unread by you.
no, that's by no, it's unread by you.
So something scheduled, unread by you. Why would you read a scheduled email?
Because if you have an email that's going to be that you scheduled out, it will only show up if something's in there. Okay. Yeah, it's unread doesn't make sense, but it's basically
it's like, okay, yeah, got it.
Okay. Underneath here, category labels. Down here, what does this took me a while to figure it out, showing the label list versus showing the message list. Showing the label list, if you show or hide these, really what that means is if you click show, it's going to be above the more drop down. If you hide it, it's after the more drop down. That's really all that does. Okay. Whether or not you're using categories. Do you want these to be showing up here or down below? I would probably hide them and put them down below there. And then also in the message list, what does that mean? If you're using categories and you click show in the message list, what will happen here is if you come in here and go to promotions and say show, then you'll actually see this right here in your message list. If you say hide, you will not see this little icon in the message list. Okay, that's what that means. Then also up here, you can decide which ones you want to show or not by going to settings, the inbox tab, default, and then unchecking the boxes. And that's how you can basically change those. And then to move a mail to another category, just right click on any email, click move to tab, and then select which one you want to set it to. That will train Gmail to actually go into the right category. Okay. Now labels. Now this is one thing. If you're not using labels, you may be, but if you're not using labels, you really want to use labels. Labels are actually better than Outlook folders. And here's why. Labels are essentially tags to organize emails. And the benefit is that folders you can only put a message in one folder. But with labels, you can actually have many labels. So it can actually be kind of like in different folders at the same time, but they're called labels. Okay, so it's tagging, which is better than folders. So the way you're going to label something is just right click on any message, go to label, and then select whichever label you want. That way, if you go into that label, you'll be able to see the email in multiple places. That's the beauty of it. Tags work really good if you use them right. How do you create a new one? Well, what you do is right click on an email, go down to label, click create new. This box right here will appear. You'll go in there, enter the name. And if you want to nest it under a parent, just click this box right here and then select the parent label. Okay. And then if you click manage labels, it'll actually take you to settings. And that'll basically take you back to the settings here. Now over here, these are all the different settings. And essentially right here, show, hide, or show up unread. So underneath here, what I normally do is I have all of my labels set up as only show if unread. So it's only going to show here above the more, okay, if there's something that I've not read. Because what I've done is I've set up a lot of filters where filters are basically sending stuff that I don't need to read right away. And it'll send them down into here. And then when I have time and I want to deal with those non-important emails, I can then go into that label, look at everything, see everything that's read. And then what'll happen is once I've looked at everything, it'll then move from here down underneath here and kind of hide it out of the site. So once again, I'm only looking at stuff that needs action. It's not showing me a bunch of stuff that's not action. And that's what the whole idea of 5S work, keeping our workplace clean. And the only thing that I want to see here all the time, because I'm constantly going back here, is to where people have set up a drive share and a calendar. So inside the filters, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that today, but we'll do that in another course. But underneath here, you can set up a filter where every time a filter comes in for a calendar event or somebody shared something with me, I tag those, okay, as a label. So that way, every one of them is right here. I can just go right to this label and see every invite and every shared document with me right here in two places. Okay. So once again, if most everything is going to be show if unread, but I want these two right here to always show. So these, no matter what, so you see how these are basically blank, but it's still showing. That's because I've set these up. If this goes to 0, it will disappear and kind of appear down here. All I got to do is click more and see it down there. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about some different ways we can track emails. Okay, the first one is stars. Right now, you go in there, you click the star, it's either a yellow star or it's not a yellow star by default. But that's not very useful. Well, it is, but it isn't. look at all the different options we have. If you actually go in, okay, and this is under settings, and under the general tab, you go down there and take a look at here, you can have all these different stars. So you can actually have up to what, 5 or 6 stars and 5 or 6 different items right here. Okay, so you can actually go through and set up multiple layered ways to star things. Okay, and what I've got here in the handout, I've got a grid, and these are actually the names. You need to know what the names are. Okay, so this is yellow, this is orange, this is blue info, this is yellow bang. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to either what's inside your firm or individually kind of come up with and say, look, this is what this check mark means. This is what this star means. So that way you're going to be consistent use with the stars, and it's going to be a way to track your emails up into 12 different, put them into 12 different states of organization. Okay. Now to do it, all you do is click on the star and just keep clicking, and it'll cycle through in the order that you basically have it. And then to see all the stars, you click start over here. But the problem with this is that's going to show you all the stars. Okay. But if you go to the search and type has colon and then the star name, it'll bring up just that particular star. So you could go in there and say, you know what, red bang is going to be these things that these are the emails that you really got to pay attention to. You go through, set that up as a star, cycle through it, set those emails up with the red bang on it, come right up to here, go has red bang, or more importantly, what if you did this? Remember, you have the multiple inbox view. You got your inboxes over here. You've got your red bang right up at the top. Those are your most important emails that you don't want to do. Those will never be out of mind, out of sight. They're right there every time you go in there. It's in your view. That is how you can really supercharge the organization of your inbox. Okay. So once again, you want to define what each one of these means. If you don't define them, then they're going to just get to be kind of hogwash, just complete chaos. Okay, so make sure you have everything defined. The importance markers, if you're not training it, turn it off. Okay, that's what this is right here. So basically, if you're, and most people I don't think train these, but if you do, great. If you don't, go in there and say no markers. Just take it off the thing. That's one less thing you have to look at. Okay. Same thing with personal levels right here. It just doesn't work real well. So I would suggest go in there and click no indicators. Okay, here I've got it marked wrong, but I would click no indicators right here. That's one less thing you have to see, less noise, less everything. Another way you can keep track of your emails is to actually move them over to tasks. So over on the right-hand side of your email, okay, you've got all these different options, whether it's keep or calendar or everything like this. This one right here is tasks. So via access tasks via the side panel. Okay, and if you don't see the side panel, the very bottom corner, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a less than sign. If you click that, it'll pop open the side panel and you'll see all these different options right here. Click this, that'll take you to tasks. Now, by default, you only have something called tasks, but you can go in there and create a new task list. And once you've created a new task list, I've set up 2 new ones. One for reminders, where by having a reminders one, that way I've got all my reminders set up in there, so I can go in there and just be reminded to update my computer, be reminded to go spend 15 minutes to learn something, whatever your little reminders are. It's on my calendar, but it's not really on my calendar. It's just a reminder. But in here, I created a task list called email tasks by clicking create task and going in there. And by doing that, all I got to do is drag that email right in the task area. And once you've got it set up as email tasks, it'll actually bring that email in and set up a task. And that's another way to keep track, set a due date, and make sure that email doesn't fall through the cracks. So
Rob, we have one question from Jeff.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good one. How can I automatically put emails that come in into folders other than the inbox? So I think that's kind of like an Outlook rule thing.
Yeah, it's a filter. So basically with that one right there, I don't think we don't have time to cover that today, but what I'm going to do is come back to the Grove. That is definitely a video that I'm creating, but essentially what you're going to do there is, I'm assuming it was Jeff, is underneath the search, okay, you're going to want to set up a filter. Okay, it's a search, because search and filters are very similar. Okay, so Google basically set up filters, but I'm going to be having something in there pretty soon. But it's really, you're going to create a filter, and once you create the filter, a search, then the filter will, and then Allison, you're exactly right. It's kind of like a rule: do this and then do this. But it works really good And yeah,
I've just put the link to join the Grove into the chat. And everybody, if you haven't heard of the Grove, it is our learning center for all sorts of things. Yes, Liscio is leading it, but we only have a tiny section in there about Liscio. And it's thegrove.thinkific.com. And you can set up your free account, go in there and look at the trainings, look at the, yep, he's showing the, oh, there's me on the, there's Muggins. But you can do courses, and we're always adding to the courses. And then you can also take the different courses, but you can also check out the community. And so you've got to go to both. These things will be in the community. So you go to both things. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Just wanted to quickly let everybody know about that. Do not miss that, because that is a huge, amazing, just a crazy amount of information there.
Yes, and then when you come in here and basically view more courses, if you come up underneath here and just type in Google right here, you'll be able to see all the different courses that we have setting up there right here using Google Docs Superforms, Google Docs Tips and Tricks, and somehow I have the word Google inside this course right here. But I'm going to be adding one on Gmail in here coming up very soon, where you'll be able to come in here, not only learn what we talked about today, but so much more.
But in the community right now, there's lots of videos about Google.
Yes, and then basically the same thing with Keep. You can basically sit there and you can send information to Keep. Okay, another way to basically keep track of that. And you can also create events from emails. So make sure, whether it's tasks, you can connect email to so many different things. That's the point here. You're not going to necessarily learn how to, but make sure that there's so many other ways you can basically connect and an email into these different Google products. The last two ways to keep track of this, one is unread. You sit there, you read it. I use unread, read. If it's something that you want to kind of push back into the unread, right click on it and then say mark as read. Okay. And then also you can snooze an email. I want this to come back at me. So right click on it and then click snooze. What that'll do is it'll snooze it and then it'll basically swing back around. You can also look at that little folder on the right that says snooze. So there's multiple ways you can keep track of the email by using, whether it's the task, whether it's the stars, whether it's the snooze and unread. But those are just some of the ways that you can kind of manage all of your different emails. And then basically I've got some right here, but I'm running out of time here, but you're going to be able to come in here and see scheduling an email to send, confidential, layouts, multi-send modes, draft emails, and templates. There's so much we can do with Gmail that we're not even knowing about it. And this is where, you know, when you have these videos up, we're going to send you an email saying, hey guys, come in, watch these step-by-step videos. They're going to walk you through slowly. So not only can you know what you want to do, but it's going to actually show you why, and you're going to be able to go at your own speed and your own pace to be able to essentially do that.
Yeah, scheduling is brilliant, because it means, especially if you've got people in different time zones, right? It means you can send it in the evening your time or the afternoon your time without impinging on their evening.
Yeah,
and you can set it so that they get it first thing in the morning their time. So it's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, and one of the things we'll do is we will also send you the PDF of this. So pretty much I set up my PowerPoints where you can pretty much follow along what you need to do by all the stuff I have on this with the pictures and everything like this. So you'll be able to go through and kind of see everything that you basically need to do. But what I'm kind of wanting you guys to do is join the Grove, download this, get the link to this handout right here. Take this handout, customize it, make it your own, add the notes that I've overlooked or I skipped or maybe didn't make it clear enough. Use all of the legends right here, okay? So you can just take it, copy it, paste it over to your something, and then customize it and make it your own. But what we're trying to do is basically give you that jump start to basically get you moving forward as quickly as possible.
So, Rob, it's so hard to pack so much knowledge into 30 minutes, isn't it? I mean, it's just impossible. Yeah, it's impossible. But what I want to reassure everybody is that we are going to park all this material. So what our process is, we run the webinar live, and then we'll send you an email. The email, since it's Friday, the email will not go out until Monday. So, but I'm going to see if we can get the materials posted onto the Grove right away. And so we'll just have to think about how we're going to get this to you, given that it's a Friday. So we'll think about a workaround here so that you get it quickly. And it might just be an email from Rob with the materials in it.
Yeah.
But we'll
And
get
then
into it quickly.
Yeah, and then the other thing is join the Grove, and even though we don't have the Gmail in there, look at the Google Docs stuff. Look at the super forms on the Google Docs, because that's some really cool stuff.
It'll blow your mind.
And that's the thing, is come back. And one of the things that we're going to be really looking forward to 2023 is I'm going to basically put a thing out there where I want everybody to spend 15 minutes a day learning a
Learning
little
something
bit.
cool that will make you more productive.
And if you do that, I guarantee you it will completely change your life.
It's like your mind break. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Everybody, thank you so much. We're going to end on time. I hope you have a great day, and I hope this was helpful, and I actually took some notes of a couple things I'm going to do, and very helpful. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so
Yep.
much.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.